For those lovely sunny days, what about a picnic? Indoor or out? And kosher, of course. Shalom. I'm Eenie Frost and welcome. And as you can see, we are not in Enie's kitchen today. Well, we were invited, and let me say in television jargon, this is called on location. That means that all the cameramen took all of their cameras and equipment, and my dear friend Devorah Heller was over early in the morning where we were measuring everything and bringing it over to Congregation Solel, a congregation that's reformed in Highland Park, Illinois. And we're so grateful and thankful to Rabbi Dov Taylor and to the executive director for inviting us. And later, we're going to go into the sanctuary, which is very beautiful and very unique. But it all started a few weeks ago. I was talking to Devorah, and I said, you know, there's so much going on at Solel all the time. In fact, while we've been in the kitchen, there have been boys and girls coming in here with daycare and with all-day classes and with adult study classes, seminars, and I noticed that there was a very interesting lecture here. And I said to Devorah, how about you and your husband David and Jack and myself going to the lecture? And maybe we could have dinner first. So she suggested a picnic. And she said, I've got the exact right thing. How do you like this beautiful red wicker basket? Isn't this perfect for a picnic? And you see there's a lovely park right across the street of Solel. So that's going to work out just fine. And for our picnic, of course, we're going to take a tablecloth with us and everything in plastic. And we're going to take our plates and napkins. Try to find something that's a little jazzy because I think that's part of the fun. And we're going to take iced tea. And with the iced tea, I think that you'll notice on the side is the wonderful mint that I grow in the garden. It's really delicious. And we'll bring some silverware. Here's the forks and the spoons, and some glasses for our iced tea. And here is insurance. What is insurance? Well, it may look like a wonderful thermos that the Friendly Fridays gave me, but what I have in here is something that you sometimes need at a picnic, and I always take it along, just in case someone might spill something on their clothes. It's always nice to have a little seltzer water with you. So bring it in a container, and you will always have some kind of good insurance with you for your picnic. Now I was thinking, what should we make? And all of a sudden, an idea came into my head. It seems to me that when we were writing one of the Ort cookbooks, one of the Portal of Good Cooking, was it 1, 2, 3, it was in volume 3, there was a wonderful recipe for a picnic meat basket. Yes, this picnic is going to be Fleischig. That means that there will be nothing that will have any milk or milk derivative within the whole meal. Not only this one dish, but the entire meal. According to the laws of kashrut, we do not mix meat and milk within the entire meal. And this was a wonderful meat basket. So I called up the girl who had submitted the recipe. And she said, oh, I can't believe it. She said, Eenie, that's been so long ago. I said, well, it had to be around 1976, around the centennial year, because that was why we did that art cookbook in red, white, and blue. And it's really a fun recipe. Now, here's what you do. First, you need a 2-pound rye bread. And you really have to call your bakery in advance. I called the deli about 2 days in advance and had him order it, because they don't always keep this in stock. And then cut off the top And then we're going to take out the filling. Oh, this is a shame to do it. It's delicious. But you can use it. Use the bread inside. It's wonderful. And you see how nice and soft it is. Scoop out your bread and even scoop it around the sides a little bit. You'll see, but leave some on it because you need an insulation for what we're going to put into our meat. Now then, I'm going to oil it just a little bit. I have about 2 tablespoons of oil that I'm just going to pour in it and take a brush and just brush it around. You'll see that this will kind of soften it up and it'll blend better with the meat filling that we're going to put in it. So then put it on top and let's put this in the oven to dry out just for a few moments while we're preparing the rest of our dinner. Now then, we're going to make the first part, which is the meat filling. And in the meat filling, I have 2 pounds of ground beef. And to that, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. And then I'm going to add about a cup of tomato juice. That gives it a very nice flavor, I think. And then I have a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper, and if you cook with me all the time, you know I'm always adding a little oregano to everything. It's optional, but I think that a teaspoon of oregano is going to give it a nice flavor. And then we're going to add 2 eggs. And we're going to crack them up and check them first, of course, before we beat them up a little bit. Here's one. And here's another one. Always watch your eggs carefully. And we'll beat them up just a little bit, not too much, just so that they'll blend in better with our meat. We'll pour it in and blend our meat together pretty good. Now that is the meat filling that we're going to put into this wonderful, wonderful bread basket. Put this on the side for a minute and then take your mushrooms. I have a 1/2 pound of mushrooms and 1 onion that I have sliced up and steam it or put it in the microwave for about a 1.5 minutes. And to that we're going to add 4 ounces of tomato juice. And oh, here's something interesting, but I want that filling to be a little thicker, just a little thickened. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. You see this? And you'll see that that is going to be a better idea. Now we have a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a teaspoon of our freshly ground pepper. Put this on the side, and now we'll take out our bread again and see if it's nice and soft and ready for us to work with. We put it in the oven just to get it a little dried out and a little stiff, because this will work better. Now let's take off the top, and we're going to start to fill it. First we'll take our meat filling and take a spoon and put about a 1/2 of the meat filling into the bottom. Be sure you get it all around. Push it to the sides so that it gets all the way into the bread. All the way. Push it all the way to the sides. Now take all of the filling, all of the mushrooms and the onions, and pour that into the middle. You see how nicely this works out? All right. Then we'll take the rest of our meat and put that across the top. And this is going to be so well insulated that when we take it out of the oven, and you can keep it for 3 or 4 hours when you go on your picnic. Now we're going to put the top back on, and we're going to put this in a 350 oven for about an hour. And when we take it out, it's going to look just like this. Now I have already put some foil on it because I wanted you to see how really insulated this is, how nicely this worked out. Here we have it, and you see I have already wrapped it in foil just to give you an idea of how this looks. Isn't this gorgeous? Can you imagine this presentation when you come to your picnic? How lovely this is going to look? Now always be sure that you take the right equipment with you. That is very necessary. when you go to a picnic especially, because it isn't like in your kitchen where you can go back in and pull something out that you didn't take along with you. But here we have, you'll have to take a good sharp knife because we want to cut this so that they'll cut into nice big pieces. And everyone is going to get a piece just like this. So I hope that you are really going to enjoy it because it's a fun thing. And we call it a picnic meat basket. And it will hold, you can put this into your basket and take it to a picnic, and don't worry about anything happening because there's nothing in here that is really going to sour or not work out right. This is a wonderful picnic idea for indoors or out, and I hope that you will try it. What would be a nice side dish to go with our picnic meatloaf? Well, pickles, of course, right? But these are zucchini pickles, and they have a wonderful flavor. In fact, I have to tell you something. While I was making them, my neighbor came in, and she took a look, and she said, "Oh, Eenie," she said, "this just makes me cry." She said, "It makes me think of my mother," because she used to call them bread and butter pickles. Remember that? And they are just wonderful. Now, here's what we're going to do. Take 2 pounds of zucchini, and you know that I am the original food processor user, but I think in this case it really doesn't slice them thick enough. I think for this you really have to take a knife and be sure you scrub it real good. Any kind of fruit or vegetable that you are going to use the peeling, always scrub it very well. If it's something like an orange and you're not going to use the rind, then that's something different. But in this kind of a thing, be sure you scrub it. Then take off the end and slice them a little thick, just a little thick, so that they will set up like pickles. And I like to choose them all around the same size, you know, not some that are big and fat and some that are little and thin. Try to get them all about the same size. About 2 pounds, and then 1 onion. Slice all of that, and then put it in a pot, like we have done here. We have the 2 pounds with the onion, we covered it with water, and we added a half a cup of salt. And let this set here for 2 hours. At the end of 2 hours, we're going to make a lovely syrup, and this is delicious. And I've got it boiling. I'm going to show you how it looks. Oh my, really boiling down. Now look at this, and I'll tell you what's in it. Here we have 2 cups of vinegar. Oh, I can smell this. This is real smell-o-vision. Then we have 2 cups of sugar. We have celery seed. That's a wonderful flavoring. And you know what's the trick to this? Is turmeric. Have you ever used that? Here it is. And it's a teaspoon of turmeric, and we have 2 teaspoons of celery seed. Put this together and bring it to a boil. After this comes to a boil, then we're going to drain our zucchini and our onion that we've had sitting here for a couple of hours. Just drain it down and add that to this. Mix it through very nicely. This is a very good strainer. This will work out good. Mix it in. Put this on the side and let it set for about 2 hours. Then come back later in the afternoon. Put this back on the stove for about 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, then we're going to put it back on the stove, bring it to a boil, 5 minutes, and then take it off. And when it cools down, put it in jars. Here, look at how these lovely zucchini bread and butter pickles look. They're really good. I think you're going to like them. I know it. Jack just absolutely went bananas, and so did all of my neighbors, I must tell you that. So we'll put it on the side and let them cool down while we're going to make something else to go with it. I was thinking of what would be an interesting kind of a salad. What could we make that would be just something different? Because we've always made the potato salads and the same kinds of salads. We've got to make something a little bit different. What could we think of? You know what's fun to work with is couscous. Have you ever worked with couscous? It really is good. It's used by the people in Morocco, maybe. You find it down there more than we find it here. But it's really good, and I think we're using it much more now. You boil up 2/3 of a cup of water. We add a cup of couscous. We cover this and let it set for about 5 minutes. And when you take it off, you'll see that it looks like these little things that we have right here. I made one in advance because I wanted it to cool down a little bit. And then we're going to add into this, see, just separate it a little bit. Then we're going to add to that 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Oh, that's going to give it a good flavor. You see, we're talking Mediterranean, and that's the only kind of oil they use, right? And here we have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, because they use lots of lemons. They grow them, and everything over there is lemon, and I hope that you've taken your fresh lemons. This would be like 1 big lemon. And then we're going to add to it a little salt, and here we have a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground pepper to give it a little flavoring. And the vegetables that we're going to put in here are, again, going to be an interesting flavor. We have green onions growing in the yard, do you? They're so easy and they're delicious. These are about 3 green onions. Use the greens and the whites, blend them in, and here's mint from the yard and parsley, fresh parsley and fresh mint. We have about 3 tablespoons of both. And oh, does that feel good. Whenever you go to these Moroccan restaurants, you get this flavor. That's what it is. That's what they use. And here I have about 7 radishes that I have put together here, and 2 tomatoes that are cut up very small. This is something like an Israeli salad, I think. If you were in Israel, everything would be made with the tomatoes, right? And the couscous. So here we have a couscous salad that will be easy to take with you, and it's, of course, going along with the Fleischig dinner that we have. Nothing has a milk basis, but again, nothing that you have to be concerned about or worried about to take with you on a picnic, because all of this will hold up very nicely and be fun. And here's a nice bowl to serve it in. Now, for dessert at our picnic, I think we would want something very simple. How about a nice large bowl of cherries and maybe a little cookie? And when I tell you where I got this cookie recipe, you'll never believe this. Did you ever get those chain letters in the mail? Send 5 of these in the next 5 days, or else you're going to have bad luck for a month. Well, I received one that was a recipe chain letter. And it said, send a recipe to 5 people, and then put your name on the bottom and put somebody else's name on the top, and it was a whole complicated affair. And I sent it away, and lo and behold, I received a recipe in the mail. And when I looked at it and tried it, this girl said that she loves these melting moments cookies. She said they're so easy, and her family loved them, and they really are fun. And I tried it, and I decided she's absolutely right. Rita, everything you said about these cookies is absolutely right. And the best part is we can make the whole thing in the food processor. Or you can just make them in a bowl. It's really that simple. Now, it takes 1.5 sticks of margarine. In fact, she was saying, after I received the recipe and thought it was so good, I spoke to her. And she said, this is very interesting. This was one of the original recipes that was put out by the margarine people when it first came out many years ago in order to promote it. So we're going to put in 1.5 sticks of margarine and a cup of flour. I'll put that through the food processor just for a few pulses. Now we add to that a half a cup of confectioner's sugar. And now, this is a little unusual, a half a cup of cornstarch. And pulse that until it forms a ball. And if it's a little too soft, then let it set for about an hour in the refrigerator. And when you take it out, it should be nice and soft like this. Now here are the toppings that we're going to use. We have sprinkles, that's my grandchildren's absolute favorite, and coconut, and of course chocolate. So we're going to cut the dough into about 1-inch pieces, roll them in a ball, and then dip them into the topping. And when you dip them into the topping, you'll see that that will kind of flatten it, which is fine. Then they'll come out with more of a flat top, and that will work out just fine. And then we'll try the coconut, and we'll do a little chocolate, since of course that's Jack's favorite, and I think everybody likes to see chocolate, some kind of chocolate cookies. Just set them on. And the interesting part about this cookie is that it bakes on a very low fire. It bakes on a 300 flame. Put it in a 300 oven for about 15 minutes, and they'll just start to brown a little bit when you take them out. And they will last for a long time. They stay very fresh. I think that having the margarine does that to the cookies. So try them. They're very easy. They're wonderful. And now, please join me in the sanctuary. We are in the very beautiful and unique sanctuary at Congregation Solel in Highland Park, Illinois. What is really necessary to have within a sanctuary in order to pray? I'm sure that all of us have been in many, many churches and synagogues throughout the world, many very ornate, many very old, many new. But when you stop to think about it, what is really necessary? In Jewish life, in order to pray, the only thing that is necessary is to have 10 people, a minyan. And when they get together, then the prayer begins. Now, of course, we're in a sanctuary. And of course, we need a little bit more. We need something else. We need the Torah, because this is what we are going to read from. The Torah is the 5 books of Moses. And enclosed in there are the 613 commandments that we abide by all the time. And I have to tell you that we must take a very close look at these very, very beautiful Torahs. It's really necessary to have one. Well, some congregations have 2 or more. It happens here at Solel. They have 3 very beautiful Torahs. And you cannot just have the Torah, the open parchment, sitting on a table. No, it must not sit on a table. It must be in an ark, in an Aron Kodesh. This is the law that was given to us. It is always set in an ark. Now here, you will see that these Torahs are covered. Yes, they must always be covered, even if it's only with a sheet, but they must always be covered. If you look at the 2 on the right, you will see that they are covered with a very beautiful needlepoint design. This was all done by members here at Solel. They worked out the design and they did the very beautiful needlework on it. And on the left, you will see another Torah. This is called a Holocaust Torah. You see, during the war, Hitler thought that he was going to exterminate the Jewish people. So he had collected all of the things that he had found in synagogues and homes, and he had cataloged them. And after the war, when all of these were found, the Torahs were brought to a place in Prague, the synagogue. And later on, they were brought to England, to London, to the Westminster Synagogue. And there, a curator and a sofer, a man who is just trained in writing and correcting Torahs, will sit all day long and look at them. And these are on permanent loan to libraries, synagogues, schools all over the world. And this one was brought here to Solel. And this very beautiful dressing was put on it. I might just add, though, that on the high holidays, All of these are changed, and there will be white. White is always used on the high holidays. In fact, you will see the men will wear white kippot. The women, my mother always says that her mother, Olive Sholem, always wore white to synagogue on the holidays. And she does too. And I find today that so many of the girls do that. It's a beautiful thought. It's a purity and excitement, a thrill of the high holidays. Now, there's always a cover on the ark. Sometimes it can be wooden doors. I'm thinking of one in particular where there's some very beautiful wooden doors and you press a button and it all goes up. Or metal doors, or perhaps velvet curtains coming down. Now here, this is a magnificent piece. This is called split tapestry. And if you look at it very carefully, you can see the very beautiful work on it. Now there's one other thing that you must have within the sanctuary, and that is a ner tamid, this eternal light. No, this was not just an idea of some architect who thought this might be a good idea. This too is a law. It's given it to us in the book of Leviticus. For in Leviticus 24 it says, "The Lord spoke to Moses saying, command the Israelite people to bring the clear oil of beaten olives for lighting, for kindling lamps. And Aaron shall set them outside the curtain of the ark from night until morning before the Lord regularly. He shall set up the lamps on a pure lampstand before the Lord forever." And so whatever sanctuary you might go into, you will see this beautiful ner tamid. Generally, it hangs from the ceiling, as this one does. Nowadays, in some cases, it's done by electric light. This one is not, but that can be either way. In fact, hundreds of years ago, they were done in wood, and you might see them enclosed in an alcove on the side so that they would not burn. There's one in here that I would like to show you. I think it's very beautiful. And this one is from hundreds of years ago in Europe. This is a very beautiful one that hangs in Europe in one of the synagogues. And so we look up here at the eternal light, which burns all the time as you walk into any sanctuary, wherever you are. You might see this, and you might see a little different design. You might see something that might be a little unusual. In Morocco, the ones that we saw were very, very silver and ornate and hanging with drops and drops and drops of things hanging from them in filigree. But that is just a matter of more or less ethnic and local kinds of work that is done. And so we look up to this ner tamid, we call it, which means everlasting light or perpetual light. And we pray that the radiance of this light will come into our hearts and into our souls to make us feel and to remember all the days of our lives, that we should think about uplifting ourselves, to uplift ourselves in terms of deeds and actions, so that everything that we do will bring these kinds of feelings to us, to our family, to our people, as a shining light unto our people, to our friends and our family, and certainly to ourselves. Shalom.